Have a look at this picture and you tell me whether you think we got our brand new, very expensive Skydio 2 drone back from the inside of the middle of this tree. I'm Barry Moore from the Next Adventure Show channel, and this is our inadvertent Skydio 2 collision avoidance torture test. So stay tuned. So, we got ourselves a brand new drone. I bought myself the new Skydio 2 specifically for a couple of reasons. One, it has the best follow me tech on the market at the moment, so that's going to be important as we're riding the bikes along, and as you'll see in a minute, it does a really good job. The other thing we got it for is it's got AI collision avoidance. It's really good at avoiding obstacles. But I was shocked at what happened when we took it out today. You see this tree here? This really big tree? Should be super simple not to hit, right? And it didn't hit it. But have a watch and find out what happened. Alright, so I'm launching the drone here with the beacon. And I'm going to move it over to our kind of 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock position. Now, we're using motion track, and what motion track does is it follows a line of motion, and it will station keep wherever you put it. So in order for it to work, you can see the drone kind of floundering around here a little bit at the moment. That's because we don't have a line of motion yet and it doesn't know where to go. So as soon as we start moving, it will figure out the line of motion and it will station keep wherever we put it. So I'm putting it kind of off to our left, as you can see. So once we start riding, it will have a better idea of where it needs to be. And I'm flying the drone with the beacon now instead of the phone. So there's 3 ways to fly it: the beacon, the phone, and the controller. And the beacon's very cool. I'll flash it up here in a second. It looks a bit like a remote for a TV. And it's got arrows and big controls on it to make it easy to use with gloved hands like you're going to have on a motorcycle. But coming up here, we've got some power lines coming up. You can see them there in the upper left corner of the video, and I don't want the drone they're on the left side of the road, so I don't want the drone on the left side of the road, so I'm going to tell it to station keep over at about the 3 o'clock position. So you can see it moving over to the 3 o'clock, and you can see me scanning for it all the time. What all the veteran Skydio flyers say is you just got to trust the drone, right? So I clearly don't trust it at the moment. So I'm continually looking at it and trying to find it, right? So we've changed our motion track. We've now turned to the right, but the drone is still supposed to station keep at about the 3 o'clock position. And there's another button on the remote you can see I'm pressing that will move it further away from us. So you got a plus and minus button to control how close it is to you, and then you've got some other buttons to control where it's station keeping. So it's station keeping at about 3 o'clock, and I wanted it on that side because you can see the power lines there. Now, coming up is the real test of the collision avoidance. There's a very big tree coming up shortly, and you can see I'm kind of slowing down and wondering what's going to happen because it's going right towards this tree. And G-mann over there is just going, oh, go ahead, trust it, right? But I don't. So eventually I'll like, well, okay, let's see what happens as we drive off. And you can see it's trying to find a way around this tree, but what it does next is amazing. So it doesn't find its way around the tree, it starts picking its way through the tree. It's now inside the middle of the tree, right? And it's moving around the branches inside the tree, inside the canopy of the tree. And it almost makes it through. Look at that. It almost makes it all the way through the tree all by itself. Now, I'm really nervous at this point because I can't see the drone anymore. And I'm going to go back and find it because I don't know what happened to it. And I'm hoping it hasn't crashed. But the tricky thing here is, as I'm coming back towards the tree, it starts backing its way out of the tree. That's amazing. I'm wondering if the AI remembers the way through the tree and backed out. But I almost hit the power lines on the way out. I'll go back and rewind that. What happened there is since it's in motion track and I told it to be at 3 o'clock, as I start coming back the other way, 3 o'clock's on the other side of the road now, relative to me. It's off, it's going to stay off to my right-hand side. So as it zipped across the road to get back to that 3 o'clock position, it almost hit those telephone wires. I almost hit those power lines. And I know for a fact from watching all the YouTube videos out there that it doesn't do well with power lines. I'm amazed at how well it did in that tree, and let's have a look at that again. You can see it picks its way all the way through the tree, waits and sits there. Now I'm wondering if it stopped because I stopped or because it just couldn't go any further, and I'm not sure which one that actually is. But the amazing thing to me, not only did it not hit the tree, but the amazing thing to me is that it picked its way back out of the tree as we started coming back the other direction. That's just phenomenal. So, as I said when we started this, I didn't trust the drone, but now I trust it a whole lot more than I did before. That's pretty amazing. So now that we got it out, I'm using the wand mode here. In the wand mode is you can use that beacon like a magic wand. You just point at where you want the beacon to go. So I said I wanted it off to my 3 o'clock again, and I wanted it higher. So I just pressed the Skydio button on the beacon and motioned to where I wanted it to go, how high I wanted it to go, and what position I wanted it in. Let go of the Skydio button, and that's where it's going to stay. So off we go again. And then now you're going to see that big tree again. And you can see how big it was. And as you can see, it's a fairly dense tree. There's lots of branches in there. It's a big tree and it almost made it all the way through. It's pretty amazing. And now we got a corner coming up. And since I told it to be over at the 3 o'clock position, it's going to do exactly that. As we go around this corner, it's going to station keep back off to my right again as we round the corner. So, if you're a motorcycle enthusiast like us and you're looking for a drone, man, it's going to be hard to beat the Skydio because you can control it fairly well just using the beacon while you're riding. We got up to about 50 Ks, I think, 50 kilometers an hour, and it was still following us with no problem whatsoever. So, we didn't really test out what the top speed was as far as following us, but we certainly will. The other cool thing about the beacon here is you can see I've told it to go over to the 9 o'clock position, and we've gone behind some trees, so it's visually lost us. It was tracking us with the camera before, but it lost us as we went behind that big clump of trees. But the beacon also sends the GPS signal back to the drone, so it kind of knows what the motion path was, and as you can see, it will wait. It will follow that GPS track, and it will wait until you can pick you up again, and then once the camera can pick you up again, it will start tracking you optically again as well as using the GPS. And there are little icons on the beacon that tell you what particular mode it's in, whether it's tracking you visually, whether it thinks it's got you but it's not sure, or whether it's just using the GPS here. So now I'm going to pull over and we're going to catch it. It's been flying for about 19 minutes or something. We did drain the battery completely and we got it down to I think it flew for 23 minutes on a single charge battery. So that's the Skydio 2. That's how good the collision avoidance is. And that's how you use the beacon if you wanted to get it to follow you on a motorbike. So I hope that was helpful. If you're looking in the market for a drone, I would highly recommend checking out the Skydio 2. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next adventure.